If you can make sure that you're dedicated to paying attention and like going through everything with an attention to detail, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 every day, that's bar prep, that's law school.
The Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry, with your host, Adam Friedman.
Today we're going to do something unique. I'm joined by Zach Refinski, who is an employee of the firm. He's been with us a number of years as a paralegal, graduated law school, is pending admission, and will very soon be with us as an associate. Zach, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing pretty good, thank you. I think most people see a serious division between paralegals and attorneys, right? Almost see it as like, I wouldn't say different skill sets, but totally different types of expertise. And I think within our industry, paralegals and attorneys do very similar roles or fill similar functions and need similar knowledge. What about being a paralegal within our firm or within our industry helps prepare you for your career?
So I think one of the most important things that I picked up as being a paralegal that's really transitioned well into law school and being a law clerk thereafter is attention to detail when you're reviewing like documents. Like we do very loan-specific documents. Like you really need to read through those and get all the information and make sure you have everything. Same thing what you do when you go to law school. You have to read the cases. You have to read in between the lines on some of these cases. So I think that as a paralegal, when you're trained to actually like start really going through documents with an eye for fine combing things, that's something that I learned as a paralegal that I picked up in law school and kind of ran with.
Yeah, I think one thing that'll really aid you is you understand what paralegals are doing. Did you ever feel like as a paralegal, attorneys didn't understand what you were doing?
No, I wouldn't say that. So when I started here as a paralegal, I worked directly with the attorney in the department that I was in because I was in the evictions department. So I worked with Dave Siebert at the time, and we worked together on everything. So it was actually really useful being in like a smaller subset of the firm at that point in time because I got a lot of like hands-on experience with being like, okay, well, like this is this motion that we're doing and this is what the documents that would correspond to it are. This is how you look through it and this is how we draft it and this is why we do this. So I've always felt like as a paralegal, I understood what I was doing just because I had a great mentor in the attorney that I was working with, and I felt that the attorney that I was working with really understood everything that I was doing, whether it was like, back-end client communications or just drafting documents.
During your time as a paralegal, I imagine for most of it, you anticipated going to law school?
Yes.
Did that change how you approached being a paralegal?
Yeah, I would say so. So I came into starting as a paralegal focusing on going to law school. I didn't know exactly when that was going to be because I started pre-COVID, so COVID kind of threw a little wrench in the timeline there. But I definitely came in eyeing up that I would try to learn as much about the actual like statutory law or like whatever case law I could get my hands on as a paralegal, and that just made me ask questions more to the attorney that I was working with.
When you were looking for a paralegal job, were you thinking about how that job would prepare you for law school?
Not necessarily. When I was kind of looking for a paralegal job, I just wanted some sort of experience in the legal field, like coming right out of undergrad. Always with an eye towards going to law school eventually, but I don't think that it factored into my decision-making process when I was determining where to apply.
Look, anyone who works in our industry knows there are a lot of portals, client portals, also case management softwares, different court websites, things like that, that are really important to our job, right? If you can't access those and can't use them appropriately, it makes things difficult. And I do think one huge advantage for someone who's worked as a paralegal within this industry before is being comfortable with those things. I mean, do you think that gives you an advantage? Like, how do you think it would impact an attorney who's never been on those things to function in a firm like ours?
Absolutely. I use all the client portals, like the various ones every day, extensively, for whether that's through document uploads or just for communicating in general. So being a paralegal and being like very comfortable working with those platforms, it makes my job easier, as it's going to make my job easier when I transition to becoming an associate. And I have to imagine that learning curve is steep for when somebody who doesn't have any experience as like a paralegal or even within this industry would come in, because now they have to learn a whole new communication system, and clients have different ones that function in different ways. So that's just a whole bunch of different learning curves added on to already picking up the normal stuff that exists within the industry.
So Zach, how has your perspective changed as you've moved from one role to another?
So I like to look at it like putting together a puzzle. And as a paralegal, I only had like, let's say, a third of the puzzle, because you understand a lot of what you're doing, but you don't always understand the legal background behind it, because you're not always super familiar with all of the statutes and everything that you have to do. And now then going to law school, you start to put that together. Like service, for example, like let's say you're talking about getting a complaint out and serving it. Okay, well, we need to do this within a certain amount of time, like 20 days, and then they have to file an answer within X amount of time. As a paralegal, you kind of just get told that, but you don't really understand why that is. So then you go through law school and you become a law clerk and you really like, oh, okay, like I get why there's like the urgency behind this, and I get why these various motions come into practice when something either goes wrong or somebody can't be located. So I think that is just more of putting the puzzle together, transitioning from a paralegal to a law clerk and then to an associate. You keep putting pieces together to get the big picture at the end.
What do you think helped you more with the bar? Do you think it was your time as a paralegal or your time in law school? And we're not including bar prep. So simply time in law school versus time as a paralegal.
I think time as a paralegal helped me with law school and with the bar, with all of it, more than anything that I did at necessarily like school or bar prep. Because if you can make sure that you're dedicated to paying attention and like going through everything with an attention to detail, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 every day, then that's bar prep. That's law school. It's almost the same concept. Like you just need to dedicate yourself 5 days a week, 8, 9, 10 hours a day to doing this and just paying attention to that. So I would credit being a paralegal for years before I went to law school with my success that I had in law school and on the bar exam.
Zach, I really appreciate it. Very helpful. Also, just thanks for all your years of being here. I mean, watching somebody go from being a paralegal to a lawyer is awesome. It adds a lot of stability to the firm, and I really do think the perspective that you have from seeing all the different angles is really, really helpful and enables you to serve as a critical building block. So
absolutely happy to be here.
And congrats on graduating law school. I went to
Thank
law
you.
school. Wasn't that much fun. Thanks for joining Zach Refinski and I on the Weekly Friedman, your source of the most essential information in the default industry. Thanks for tuning in and looking forward to seeing you next time.